Hello and welcome back to the Villa View for another video. Now today we've got a special one where I'm going to be joined by Gregg Evans from the Birmingham Mail, the Aston Villa journalist for the Birmingham Mail, to talk about pre-season and what he saw in Germany and what we can expect ahead of the new season. Do bear with us throughout it. Internet was a bit of a problem, so might be a few bits that are out of sync, but trust me, it's a really good interview and he spoke really well, so stay tuned. So Greg, you went out over to Germany for the pre-season games. Should have been more than there was, but what was the general mood of the camp and what did you sort of take away from going over to Germany and watching Villa?
Well, yeah, in terms of pre-season and how the tours go, this was definitely one of the better ones. I think there was about 400 or 500 fans over there. They seemed to really enjoy it. Obviously that Villa won the Cup of Traditions, a bit of a Mickey Mouse competition, so to speak. Yeah, don't take too much out of that one. But the fans certainly enjoyed it. 2 wins, 5 goals, no goals conceded. So very, very, very positive. But I think the team will actually take more out of the training sessions and the team bonding activities that they did over the 5 days. They flew out to Germany on Friday, flew back on Wednesday morning. So they had a lot of training over there. Trained Friday, trained Saturday, played the tournament on the Sunday, trained again on the Monday, trained on Tuesday morning. Was going to play a friendly on the Tuesday night, but that was cancelled just because it was hammering down with rain. The pitch that they were due to play on was effectively a non-league ground, so it was always going to be hit and miss whether that game would be on. It was a little bit disappointing, really, because the players did need a bit more game time. The manager wanted to give as many of the players as long a run out as possible, and we would probably have seen the strongest team available to Steve Bruce at the moment for the first 70 minutes or so, I'd have thought. So yeah, it's a shame that one was cancelled, but I think overall a decent trip, really, and one that the fans really enjoyed. I caught up with quite a few of them. Everyone sort of based themselves in Dusseldorf or Duisburg. Dusseldorf, the much more livelier city of the two, so there was plenty to do for the fans. Lots of drinking involved, but we won't go into that. But yeah, a very good all round trip, really, and the players are fit and firing now. They obviously went to Portugal for 9 or 10 days earlier in the month. That was just purely to get the yards in the legs, to build up their fitness, and now it's all about shape and trying to get some sort of system in place ahead of the whole game.
For the actual games themselves, I know you talked about John Terry on Twitter and how he's a class act. Other than that, the youngsters that come through in those games as well that were taken out there, the likes of Dor Hayes, definitely impressed. And is that something that's going to be on Bruce's mind going into the new season? Obviously, plenty of players already in midfield, but these youngsters looking to push the boundaries as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, there's five or six youngsters now pushing, trying to force their way into the first team. You've got obviously Andre Green, who's probably ahead of the pack. He's turned 19 this week, but very, very much in Steve Bruce's thoughts now for the season ahead. Hepburn Murphy, obviously we all know about. We've seen him scoring goals for the under-23s. He's back now after 2 or 3 months out with a hamstring injury. So I know there's quite high hopes for Mitch Clark as well, the defender, the centre-half, who we'll probably see a little bit more for the under-23s this year. Not quite ready for the first team, but that's purely because there's so many experienced performers ahead of him. Just looking at that defensive partnership now. As I said on Twitter earlier in the week, John Terry's just been immense since he's came. I know it's only pre-season. I'll try not to get too carried away with everything, but he's just, every performance I've seen, he's been almost faultless. And if he can take that into the Championship season, then Villa have got a really, really solid signing. But we knew that anyway, didn't we? It's just whether he's going to play alongside James Chester and Chris Samba. So plenty of positives to take from it, definitely.
Shape-wise, could you see us going with 5 at the back? It's all pointing towards that in terms of perhaps El Mohammadi as right wing back, those 3 centre-backs you touched on there, Chester, Terry, Samba. Could we be looking at a 5 at the back come the whole game in a few weeks' time, or do you reckon that Bruce is still going to push to have the 3 perhaps, or the 4?
Yeah, it's really tough one to tell at the moment, because I spoke to the manager earlier in the month and he said he was considering 3 centre-halves. When you look at that, I mean, on paper, you'd probably say it'd be Terry, Chester, and Baker, just to purely give it the balance with Baker as the left footer. But obviously Samba's come in, done really well, and it's a big statement for me. This is, but I honestly believe Samba will be a better signing than Terry if he can stay fit. The key is just keeping him fit. When he was at Panathinaikos, his last club, he had like 3 or 4 injuries in 6 months. So I think that's why Villa took so long to offer him a full-time deal, a permanent deal, because they wanted to look at his durability, see if he was ready. Clearly, he's proved that now. But yeah, so just going back to the shape, I think if you look at Bruce's promotions in the past to Birmingham City, he's liked to use a 4-4-2, and the way it's setting up at the moment, I could see Al Mohammadi on the right, Green on the left, 2 centre midfielders, maybe Lansbury and Jedinak, or Whelan and Lansbury, or Jedinak and Whelan, depends. And then if Kodja can get back, Kodja and Hogan up front. And I mean, for me, that looks like a real potent attack, strike force, and a real solid back line. I think that's just got a nice mix about it. If you had Terry and Chester as the two at the back, or Bree right back, Taylor I think picks himself at left back, and then the 6, 4 in the middle and 2 up top, as I said. I think that team could cause a lot of Championship sides a lot of problems.
There's been question marks over Bruce's playing style in particular, and I must admit I've been one that's sort of backed the playing style of the case of just go out and win. But in recent months, especially over pre-season, it's been negative at times in terms of the fans' beliefs over the playing style. What can we expect in terms of playing style? Because over in Germany, it looked like we had quite an attacking intent, and we looked to play on the break a little bit more than we have done in another pre-season game. Yeah,
definitely. As I mentioned earlier, I don't like to get too carried away with what I've seen in pre-season. I'd like to see 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 Championship games before I could accurately say whether they're going to be an attacking team this season or whether it's going to have similarities of last year. Let's be honest, last year finishing in 13th place was not good enough. And to add insult to injury, the playing style just wasn't good enough either. So Villa fans were going to games, they weren't scoring goals, they weren't getting excited by the players. And a little bit of that's got to change this year. I know supporters will accept 1-0 wins, and if that means promotion. And if you look back on Bruce's promotion campaigns in the past, it has been a lot of 1-0 wins over the years. I think he got promoted with Hull, and they only scored 65 or 60 goals. Villa will take that this year, but look, he wants the players to attack and excite, but at the same time he wants them to be reliable and not concede first. I think Villa have got that base. The back 4 picks itself now. Solid. Jedinak and Whelan in the middle, if they go with that, very, very solid. But then the onus would definitely have to be on those attack-minded players to make it different. You would need Green to be going at fullbacks every single time he got the ball. You need Al Mohammadi to be doing the same on the right. And then Kodja and Hogan, the 2 who I think will start up front with Kodja's fit. They need to be producing magic every game as well, because you've basically got a split team, haven't you? I mean, I know it is defence and attack, but you've basically got a very, very defence-minded 5 and then a very attack-minded 4 or 5. So we'll see how it goes.
Slightly moved away from pre-season. Well, it is still pre-season, but from the German tour, the likes of Ross McCormack didn't go, Aaron Spola, Tommy Elphick. What are those connected to Bruce not wanting them in his plans, or is that injuries? Is it mainly these guys, the ones that are clearly not in his plans, and he doesn't want them there because he knows they're probably going to be leaving in a few weeks' time?
Yeah, I mean, that seems the case. I can't see either. Well, I think Alfie could be on his way, definitely. The thing with Alfie is real top guy to have around the place, and you won't ever hear Steve Bruce saying a bad word about him. Excuse me, purely because he's so good for the dressing room. Just hasn't really happened for him, has it? He's the one player I kind of feel a bit sorry for, because he came to Aston Villa hoping to sort of play regularly, and he's done some really good things behind the scenes. But with the signings this summer, it was inevitable really that he was going to go. I think, to be honest, he was edging for a move away as well, because he didn't feature enough last year. I think 7 or 8. He only made 7 or 8 starts under Bruce, so just not enough, is it? Sunderland leading the way for him, and we know that Harry Redknapp at Blues is also keen on him. So it's down to him to decide where he wants to go, whether he likes it in the Midlands, he wants to stay here, or whether he wants to just have another clean break and go up to Sunderland. I would presume he'll head up to Sunderland, from what I'm hearing. They're leading the way for him, so we'll see on that one. As for Ross McCormack, I always wondered how Bruce and Ross would repair that relationship, because you haven't, over the years, I've never seen Steve Bruce really digging out players, and the way he did that with Ross McCormack gave me the impression that there was a bit more to it than meets the eye. Obviously, you know, he had his personal issues, which everybody in every walk of life suffers. So you've got to give him that time to get over those issues. But at the same time, he's paid to do a job, and if he wasn't doing the job that Steve Bruce wanted, then he's got every right to kick a fuss about it. So he was taken on the trip to Portugal. He trained as hard as the others, I'm told. He played a couple of the pre-season games earlier in the summer, didn't he, against Kidderminster, and he had a little bit of game time against Shrewsbury. Didn't score, didn't really look up for it, didn't really look on his game. I just wonder whether we'll ever see the same Ross McCormack that tore up the Championship in previous years. If he goes to Sunderland and Simon Grayson got the best out of him when he was at Leeds, then maybe we will. But it's just time for a move for him, isn't it? It hasn't worked out, and it's a shame really, because this time last year when he signed, I don't know what your feelings are, but I thought he would be the man that will score the goals to get Villa back up in the Premier League. I thought if you could have any striker from the Championship last year, it would have been him. But he just didn't do it, did he?
No, I echoed those views. I think at this point last year, I was like, this is a great sign. He's going to score all the goals for us, and it didn't work out. Another guy that didn't work out, Aaron Tashbola. There's been no real word about him either in terms of being linked to move away, or is it just that injuries have sort of plagued this time as well?
I haven't really got an update on him. He was left out of the squad to go to Germany. He didn't go to the pre-season tour to Portugal either. He's been training and playing with the under-23s. I mean, we've got to still remember he's a young man, but he was signed to play for Villa. Again, signed by another different regime. Steve Clarke spoke very highly of him. Roberto Di Matteo's assistant sort of almost convinced him to sign him. Di Matteo was keen on him, played him a little bit, didn't he? And then when Bruce came in, just hasn't really taken to him. So much competition in the centre of midfield, though, isn't there? So I'd expect his bowler to probably go on loan again. I can't remember how many times he played for Forest when he went there last year, but he didn't have an impact there, did he? He seems like his career's just stalled a little bit, because there was so much spoken of him growing up at Reading, saying this is the guy you got to look out for. And then Villa obviously paid big money for him, £5 million for a 21-year-old. It's quite a lot, considering he'd only played 13 Championship games. But yeah, so we'll just have to see what happens with his future.
I'm going to put you on the spot a bit here. What can you see us going with lineup-wise come the whole game? I can't see us doing much more transfer business before that. What can you really expect in terms of the lineup, would you say? Because for me, it's pointing towards El Mohammadi on the one side, as you said, Green on the other, and pretty much bang on to what you said previously with that sitting four.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think Johnson in goal, Hutton right back, Taylor left back, Terry and Chester centre halves. I think Glenn Whelan will probably start purely because he's just got a little bit ahead of Jedinak, who might be back. He might be back and available for the game, but he hasn't really had a pre-season, so it'd be wrong to rush him back straight away. Yeah, the one position I don't really know is that other centre midfielder. I don't know whether it'll go with Hurihan because he's creative. Lansbury, who would sit a little bit deeper. Bjarnason, he's versatile but hasn't really done it since he's come. Grealish, who could get forward a little bit more. And I do think he'll go with Hogan and Agbon Lahore to start with. I don't think he'll play Kodja just because he isn't back, and he needs just a couple of weeks to get into it. So, but obviously when he's fully up to speed, he'll be one of the first names on the team sheet. I'd have thought. The big talking point for me, Matt, I'd say, who plays alongside Whelan in centre midfield? Because 4 or 5 of them, isn't there? It's just who'd you go with? To
me personally, it's Hurahan that should be there, because Whelan reminds me of more a sitting player, and Hurahan's got the ability to push on. But then not having Lansbury in that side also seems a bit dodgy. And then we know that if Lansbury and Hurahan are playing together, you need another midfielder in there, such as Jedinak, to hold it. So it could point towards the 5 at the back. There's so many options we've got. I think we've actually got too many options, potentially.
I know. Well, there's Bakuna to come back as well, isn't there? So just where do they all fit in?
Finally, Greg, from you, how's Villa's squad shaping up, would you say, in comparison to the rest of the Championship? I was looking at other clubs' business today, And the only one that really stood out for me is Middlesbrough's business. They've done some really good signings. Norwich are an interesting prospect this season in their new sort of system, with Daniel Fark from Germany coming over and their new head of recruitment. How's Villa's business really shaping up in comparison to them and then the squad as well?
Yeah, I think it's shaping up really well. It's interesting. You should say Norwich, Matt, because you're the first person I've heard say that, and I actually think Norwich will win the league. I think they've strengthened. I think their manager's decent from what I'm told. I can just see them doing well for some reason. They played the same. They played the same teams that Villa were due to play and beat them comfortably over in Germany. And speaking to a couple of the locals there, they said that they looked excellent, looked really, really well up for it. But anyway, back to Villa. I think their squad's looking good now. I think Bruce is comfortable with the players he's got at his disposal now. I think he knows the sort of the 23, 24, maybe a few less that he wants to work with. Clearly, there was too many players there last year that he was having to play or having to work with day in, day out that he just didn't feel were up for it. I think some of them are still there now. Well, they definitely are, and they still need to move some of them on. But the players that he's brought in are players that he wants. Al Mohammadi signed him 3 times now. John Terry speaks for himself. Chris Sambury's took a good look at him now for 5 or 6 months. Glenn Whelan, 33 years old, been there, done it in the Premier League, played for Stoke for 9 years. Last time he played in the Championship, he got promoted. And let's just hope some of the guys that he signed in January kick on. I think Scott Hogan now, I really do hope he's turned the corner, because he scored 2 goals in Germany, looked really up for it. There was too many games last season where he just went missing, didn't he? I look at that Blues game where Villa sneaked it with Gabby's goal. Hogan was just nowhere to be seen. It was almost as if he'd bottled it. And I don't like to see that from a striker, especially somebody who's so confident in his own ability. When he came in, Hogan, he said, "Look, I want to get to 30 goals." I think Villa squad's looking good now. I think Bruce knows the pretty much the team that he wants to send out for that whole game, and I believe they'll be top 6 this year.
We apologise for some of the audio throughout that, but hopefully you enjoyed what Greg had to say, because I think he spoke really well. If you have enjoyed this video, then please do drop us that like below. Comment on your thoughts ahead of the new season and on what Greg had to say. And if you are new to the Villa View, then please do subscribe for your post notifications on. If you enjoyed that video, why not watch another one? Click the video choices on screen now to go and watch them in full. And don't forget to subscribe. Click on our logo there on the left and press subscribe. Easy.